Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to take you through my process for a DIY alignment. Let's go. I really like doing my own alignments. Now, us car guys, we overlook alignments a lot. We put all these mods onto our cars and then we copy and paste a set of specs that we found on the internet onto our car expecting great things. Now, if you've ever been on those forums, you would know that every single person has an opinion and they're all different. What my recommendation is to learn how to do your own alignments. That way you can slowly change things and then you can find the alignment spec that suits your driving style, because we all have different driving styles. We all have different goals. We all have different motorsports. And learning how to do that yourself and learning what works for you is going to make you a faster racer. DIY alignments are cheap because you can almost use things that you probably already have. Now, fishing line. I use this yellow 50-pound fishing line. It's easier to work with when it's a little bit bigger than the thin stuff. And also you can see it better. 245 meters, so go nuts. Sinkers, these are size 4 from BCF. You get them in packs of 2. They cost $5 each. You can use sockets if you want. I've used sockets before and it works fine. PVC pipe, I got this from Bunnings. They're $5 each. They're 3-meter lengths. You can use any size you want, just this smaller size, whoop, is probably the best stuff to use. Jack stands, we all have jack stands. I hate when cars fall on me. So these jack stands, I'll have 2 at the front, 2 at the rear. The PVC pipes will sit on those jack stands. Now you can use anything. I've used cardboard boxes before. I've also used buckets and then just sticky tape them to the buckets. Lots of good options. Use your head, you'll be able to find a solution. Now, last thing you'll need is a digital level box. Now, you can get these on Amazon for less than 20 bucks. But I tend to end up using my phone with an app called Bubble Level because it's in my hand. I can never find this when I need to use it. I only can find this when I don't need to use it. So my advice is, instead of buying one of these, just use your phone and Bubble Level and it works perfect. Now, before we touch the car, we need to make sure our workspace is appropriate. Now, you need room to get all the way around the car, but also you need flat, level concrete. The concrete needs to be nice and flat and level. If you don't have flat and level concrete, go get some because this requires it. The reason we change camber first is because on 90% of cars, if you change the camber, you're going to change the toe alignment. But if you change the toe alignment, you're not going to change the camber. So if we get our camber to where we want it, when we adjust the toe, we're not going to be changing those camber settings. But if we do all our toes and then we adjust camber, by adjusting that camber, we're going to readjust all those toes and we're going to have to redo the toes twice. Now, this is speaking for 90% of cars. Some cars have dual lower arms or weird rear suspension setups, and in those cars, sometimes you do need to go back and forth, and those cars suck. I've done it myself, they just take longer. But on a simple car like this, we can just adjust our cambers to where we want it, and then we can build our alignment box and do toes. Now, on a scrap piece of paper, I've just drawn up 4 boxes that relate to each wheel. I'm going to go around the car now and take the camber measurements on each wheel. Now, I'm pretty lucky with this wheel design because I do prefer to measure off the actual disc rotor itself. And I can get something like this inside my wheel onto the rotor. Now, just use your best judgment on getting the best measurement you can. You can easily measure off the wheels. Try to use the tip of the wheel, top and bottom. And it needs to be centric. So you don't want this to be off-centered in any way because you do want an up and down sort of measurement as best you can. Now I'll put this on the disc rotor like so. And then we put our digital gauge on there like so. And that's coming up at 3.22, 3.2, call it 3.2, give or take. This is the app that I use, and it works as simple as just putting it on there like so, and that will give us, see, about the same measurement. There you go. Within 1/10 of a degree is totally fine, within my acceptable margin of error. So now we just need to go around and do that all the way around the car, taking the measurements and writing them down on our sheet. Okay, so I've measured the camber all the way around the car. I've got 3.2 degrees on the front, and I've got 3.8 on the passenger rear, 3.1 on the driver's rear. Now, I want the rear to be 2.5 degrees. So what I'm going to do now is put the car up on the hoist, and I'll show you how I'm going to get it adjusted to 2.5 from these measurements. Okay, so now we're at the rear passenger side. If you remember, this side was 3.8 degrees. Now, I want it to be 2.5. Now, it's a lot harder to do that on the ground. So I've jacked it up, and this number does not matter. But what we are going to do is take 1.3 degrees off this number, and that will get me to the 2.5 degrees that I want. So let's do that now. Okay, so now it's showing 1.6, which is 1.3 higher than the 0.3 that we started with. So when I put this back down on the ground, it should be 2.5 degrees. Now, before we build our alignment box around the car, there's some things that we need to take care of to make this job a lot easier. You need to set the steering wheel straight and level. I always make sure that I center the rack by turning the steering wheel all the way, then counting the number of turns and rotations, and then putting it to the center. Just so happens on this car, it's almost exactly perfect. Now, you can pin it down in some way against the seat to make sure it doesn't move. I've found that if I'm gentle and cautious of it, the steering wheel doesn't move, so it's no issues. So I've just laid the PVC pipe down on the front of my car because I have wider track on the front than I do the rear. If you have wider track on the rear than you do the front, then put the PVC pipe on the rear. This is about how much you want either side, which is about a hand's worth. Either side, if you don't have a hand's worth, they're probably too short. What we're going to do now is cut a slot in one end, about 1 inch in. This slot is going to be just deep enough for the fishing line to sit into. So we'll cut this one, and then I'll show you how to cut the other one. So now we've got the slits cut, we're going to put something rigid in here to make sure they stay straight together, and then we're going to sticky tape them together. And now we can spin it around and cut the slit in the other end. So what we've done now is we've cut the slots, and these slots are exactly the same length on both PVC pipes. And to make sure these don't fall off, I'm just going to zip tie them onto the jack stands. And there we go. We've got a PVC pipe zip tied to the jack stands front and rear. And now we take our fishing line and tie our sinker to one end. Don't know how to tie a fishing line? You should probably learn to go fishing, mate, because fishing's fun. Okay, just like that. And now we drape the sinker over one end in the slot that we've created. And now we know the length of line that we need. We can cut it and add the sinker to the other end. And now we do the other side exactly the same as this. So now we've got the alignment box made. It's time to align it to the car. Now what we need to do is measure the front, the line to the wheel on both sides, and that measurement needs to be the same on both sides. So we need to adjust the box until we've got that perfect. Then we go to the rear and the front and the rear and just spend some time and get it perfect. And now it's time to adjust toe. Now, I've been doing this a long time, so I have a pretty good idea of what I'm gonna want on this car. I'm gonna run 2 mil toe out each side on the front, which gives me 4 mil total toe out. Now, if you're new to alignments, then I would recommend 1 mil toe in on each side, giving you 2 mil total toe in. That will make the car more stable under braking, and then you can slowly increase that to find the perfect toe to get the car to turn in. Now, as for the rear, 99% of cars are going to be running toe in. Now, I'm going to be running 1 mil toe in each side, which is 2 mil total toe in. The only applications I know of toe out on the rear is front wheel drive Motorcana cars. Now, not all of them, but some of them will run toe out to get the rear to go around a lot easier, but they're only doing low speed cornering. So for high speed cornering and stability, you really just want to stick with toe in. So now I'm at the driver's side front wheel. Now I'm going to measure it front and rear. So I've got 60 mil on the rear. And I've got 56 mil on the front. So that means I've got 4 mil toe out on the front, which is too much. So what I want now is to get the rear to 59 mil and get the front to 57 mil. That will give me 2 mil toe out. Now I've just spent a few minutes going backwards and forwards to adjusting and measuring, and I've got it perfect. So I've got 59 mil on the rear of the rim. And 57 mil on the front, which gives me 2 mil toe out. And now we do that all the way around. And the toes are done. So I'm going to quickly take you through my measurements to help you understand what you're aiming for. Now, on the front of the car, I had 57 mil on the front of the rim and 59 mil on the rear of the rim. Because the front of the rim is closer to the fishing line, that means I've got toe out. And in my measurements, I've got 2 mil difference, which means I have 2 mil either side, giving me 4 mil total toe out. Now on the rear, it's the exact opposite because I've gone toe in. I've got 84 mil on the front of the rim and I've got 83 mil on the rear of the rim. Because the rear of the rim is closer to the fish line, that means I've got toe in. And because I've got 1 mil difference between the front and the rear of the rim, it means I have 2 mil total toe in on the rear. And that's how I do my DIY alignments. Throw a comment down below if you have any questions. I'll try and answer as much as I can. Other than that, please like and subscribe as it does help out the channel. And I'll see you in the next video.